Mr. Andrew Breitbart, who's biggovernment.com, broke this story, had the videotape of Shirley Sherrod. And I know, Andrew, you've been running around crazy right now. Thanks for joining us this afternoon, though.
Yeah, I just had about a 15 to 20-minute interview with John King, and he just came out, punching pretty hard. He wants to vindicate Shirley, apparently. It's amazing that this video comes out. It's about 1 billion times more video evidence than has ever come out against the Tea Party that CNN has been at front and center of having raised the question without evidence if it's racist or not, which is an act of negative branding against the Tea Party, which is what the Democratic Party wants, just saying racist, racist, racist. Is it racist? By asking that, it sends the message to everyone, well, if you're a Democrat or if you're black, why would they want to go to an organization that potentially is racist? So that's the intent that CNN is doing. So we're trying to show these people who will not allow for us to show exculpatory video that proves that the crux of their argument that the Tea Party racist, that the N-word at the Capitol, at the Cannon House building, is made up. And so as he was trying to make it about Shirley Sherrod, John King of CNN, it will air at 7 o'clock East Coast time. It's a very long interview. It's very contentious. As he's trying to make it about Shirley Sherrod and whether or not she should have been fired, I didn't ask her to get fired. Vilsack fired her, and the NAACP rebuked her and the audience's reaction. But today, the distractors at Media Matters, the distractors at Salon want to change the subject and misdirect and make it about me. I had nothing to do with firing her. I wanted to raise the specter. NAACP, which is supposed to be about trying to, ferret out discrimination in our society, was involved in a freedom dinner on tape in which the speaker is speaking in racist language and the audience is accepting it and laughing at it and applauding it, and that's deeply offensive, and it's 10 times more evidence. As a matter of fact, it's 1 billion times more evidence than the mainstream media has been able to compile over a year and a half of trying to falsely frame the Tea Party as racist.
Absolutely. That's so interesting. The NAACP did rebuke her, and you brought up Media Mutters for America. How fascinating is it? You see the NAACP in rebuking her and the audience for this. You see them sort of coming out to the middle a little bit, and yet you see all of the lackeys and everyone in the left trying to jerk them back by coming out with this narrative and trying to make it look as though the administration is being bullied. And I think that right there, to me, shows just how much control the left wants to have over different communities and use them as voting blocks. And they're fumbling with this. Do you agree?
It's very helpful that today Tucker Carlson's site, Daily Caller, came out with a portion of the journalists talking about how this group that was Ezra Klein promised when it was exposed that Dave Weigel was wishing for the death of Matt Drudge and Rush Limbaugh, he being a Washington Post reporter who's covering the conservative movement, and he's wishing upon the death of two of its principals. The Ezra Klein, the head of the journo list, 400 reporters and academic types, Ezra Klein said this wasn't about framing narratives. It's just wonkish stuff. Well, we find out today that they're blatantly not just crafting narratives, but blatantly crafting lies. You have Spencer Ackerman, formerly of the New Republic, Wired Mag, and the Washington Independent, saying about trying to kill the building Reverend Wright story. You have him saying, let's attack Fred Barnes or Karl Rove as racist for even bringing it up. That'll stop them. And that is exactly what's happening here, is that the Democratic Party and the press that backs them up feels comfortable within a group of 400 people, which Bloomberg reporters, Politico reporters, Washington Post reporters, The Nation magazine. They feel comfortable conspiring behind the scenes to slander, malign, and ruin the lives of other Americans that disagree with them. This is evil behavior, and it's part of a grander narrative of how the left uses race as a weapon, regardless. So this story is getting huge, and I'm going to use my this opportunity every time they bring me on CNN. They're going to try and hit me on the misdirection, and I'm going to use my airtime to say, I have exculpatory video that will show that Congressmen Carson, Lewis, and Cleaver lied. What does that say about the Democratic Party, that the Congressional Black Caucus was willing to lie and the Democratic Party was willing to go along with that big lie? They will not show those videos. They will not bear the brunt of the ramifications of what that story means in this country, because what they were doing at the Congressional Black Caucus is exactly what they do with the journalists. They lie. They malign, they use Alinsky, they try to destroy lives.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I wish that if there's a second journalist going right now, I can only imagine some of the things that they would be saying just because of these two stories with the journalist, with the Sherrod thing, all of this. I can only imagine what they would be trying to say in order to control this story coming out right now. I mean, this is,
you know, you imagine right now CNN going wall to wall with the Shirley Sherrod story? If Shirley Sherrod were white and Shirley Sherrod, had said those racial things, trying to find exculpatory evidence, saying, well, maybe later in the tape, what? She's talking in racist terms. She refers to whites as the other, and everybody in the audience nods in laughter. She was speaking in present tense.
Yes.
She was not talking about I used to. She said she was skeptical of white people throughout the entire thing. And the full video will show that she sees things through a racial prism, and that is what the NAACP has been about. It's done a 180 in our lifetime from trying to fight discrimination to try and affirm discrimination, because it is such a potent weapon that can be used in the purpose of progressive politics and pushing progressive politics. And on that video, the second video that nobody's talking about, it is such an affirmation for why the Tea Party needs to exist. It has her saying that people should be getting jobs in the government because you can't get fired. That is why the Tea Party exists, because this is what the NAACP and the Democratic Party are all about. They want to create more jobs, but they're government jobs that are unaccountable, and they want to turn us into the United States of the DMV.
How ironic that she said that, and then the day after those videos surfaced, she's walking now.
It's a new government. No, it's a streamlining.
Exactly. And I've been a little bit disturbed seeing some conservatives so eager to just sort of back off of this story and go along with the fact that, maybe she was fired too hastily. Maybe this all happened. Because we really don't know the full story. And it makes me think that some people are sort of falling for the sleight of hand that's coming from this administration, because I see them.
That's what they're doing. I've got a quote here right now that I think would be a good way to end it, because I have to go to the Charlie Rose show. But Mary Frances Berry, who is the former chair of the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights, as appointed by Carter and Clinton, said this: tainting the Tea Party movement with the charge of racism is proving to be an effective strategy for Democrats. There is no evidence that Tea Party adherents are any more racist than other Republicans, and indeed many other Americans. But getting them to spend their time purging their ranks and having candidates distance themselves should help Democrats win in November. Having one's opponent rebut charges of racism is far better than discussing joblessness.
Ooh.
That's what it's about. This is political politics. It's what the journalist is doing. It's what the Democratic Party is doing. And that is why the Congressional Black Caucus was willing to be guinea pigs here. They didn't think that anybody would challenge them. And they certainly got what they wanted when challenged, that the mainstream media would ignore blatant evidence that showed that they lied.
Yep.
If it were shown to the American people and they saw that the Democratic Party abided by a manufactured lie, November will not be a pretty sight for them.
Oh, no, it will not. Andrew Breitbart, bigjournalism.com, biggovernment.com. You have a lot of big sites. Just go to biggovernment.com, folks. Andrew, thanks so much for being on with us this afternoon and for doing what you're doing.